Hey, welcome back to the channel. In a video that I did recently called The 7 Reasons Why I Love Tape, I talked about the things that keep me coming back to cassettes and reel-to-reel. I'll link to that video above. If you haven't seen it, check it out and then come back here and keep watching. The response to that video was great, and there were quite a few people from the younger generation talking about how they're getting into tape, or they already use it and they absolutely love it. And that intrigued me on a couple levels. First, I know that tape has had a bit of a resurgence over the past decade or so. Smaller independent artists have been releasing cassette albums forever. But in my research this week, I discovered some big-name modern artists who also been releasing on tape, and that really caught my attention, so I ordered a few and we'll take a look at them. Second, where are these tapes coming from? Who still produces these things? And third, I'm ecstatic the younger generation is enjoying analog media, having that physical copy in their hands. But the new equipment's terrible. Check out this video. So what can the new generation do in order to have a great experience with analog? We'll tackle these 3 things today. Stay tuned. In the 7 Things video, I talked about the tactile nature of physical media, being able to actually hold a cassette in your hand, and actually owning a copy you can see, not just some digital file that's streaming from an invisible cloud somewhere. I also talked about the packaging, being able to open that fresh cassette and behold the album art and the design of the cassette itself. It's something we just don't get digitally, unless you count a thumbnail album image, and I really don't. So that's really what I'm going to look at today. I picked up a copy of an album from 2015 or so, Beach House by Depression Cherry. It's a typical small release from that era, no insert, no album art, but maybe the quality of the recording will impress us. Second, I picked up a 2019 release from Billie Eilish, Happier Than Ever. It's a UK release and it has a nice weight to it and pretty good album art. Last, I ordered a copy of Taylor Swift's brand new release, 1989, Taylor's version. It's also a UK release. It too has a nice weight to it and some album art, so we'll see if any of these things live up to my expectations when it comes to the packaging and the sound quality. Now, one of the things that I mentioned before was discovering artists that I really wasn't familiar with from just choosing something randomly from the album art. The only artist out of these 3 that I'm not familiar with is Depression Cherry, and they sure didn't have the album art to impress me. Now, the other 2 aren't really my style of music, but they're new releases on cassette, so I feel like we have to check them out. Let's get these things opened up. All right, so these are the 3 albums that I picked up. Like I said, we have the Beach House by Depression Cherry, Happier Than Ever by Billie Eilish, and the 1989 Taylor's version by Taylor Swift. So let's go ahead and get these opened up and just kind of see what they look like. Now, we'll start off with this one. This is Beach House by Depression Cherry. This is one that, to me, is pretty typical of a small release, by kind of an independent artist. Now, this one's actually by Sub Pop Records, which is a label that's been around since, I think, the late 80s and has had some pretty big name people on it. But, this just kind of reminds me of a kind of a small release, maybe a promo kind of a thing. So there's really not a whole lot to this one. I don't see any kind of pull tab on this one, so we just kind of have to get it open. Now, I remember back in the day, some cassettes had a nice pull tab on them and others didn't. And this one is one of them that's a little bit difficult. Hopefully our patience will be rewarded, right? All right, so if we look at this one, it's a standard Norelco case. Nothing big about that. The cassette itself looks like a sonically welded case. It's a nice clear red case. Printing is done actually pretty well. If we bring the tape forward some, so you can see what the tape looks like inside. See if it's a decent quality or if it's cheap stuff. It's pretty dark. Doesn't look like the best tape in the world, but it's not terrible either. The pad inside is actually on a metal spring, which is nice. So seems like a decent tape. So that's our first one. Now, I wasn't expecting anything spectacular here. This one was just kind of for reference. Let's open up the Billie Eilish and see kind of what it looks like here. Now, on the outside, pretty nice album art from what I can see. It's the same as what you get on. This one was available on vinyl too, apparently. But looks like it's Dark Room Interscope Records in Santa Monica, California. 2021 is when this one was released. I don't know why I was thinking it was 2019. Maybe the original album was 19. But it's got a nice weight to it. This one says made in the UK. So obviously they must have a maker over there putting these together. Now this one does have a pull tab on it that's actually been pulled a little bit. Let's get it open and see if we have anything other than just a J card on this one. So standard case. Open it up. It's actually a brown cassette. Doesn't feel like the best cassette in the world. It's also sonically welded. No tabs, type 1. The label is just a sticker, and there's actually some bubbles under it, so I would say it's probably not the best quality. I can see, the window on here. For those that are in my generation and older, probably remember on nice cassettes, this was actually a hard plastic. You couldn't poke your finger through it. This one's actually soft. Feels like it's maybe the kind of the lubricating sheet that they put in there that just goes all the way across to protect the tape. So not expecting the best quality tape in the world on this one, but we'll give them the benefit of the doubt here. Ooh, that tape is really light brown. So I'm not expecting anything spectacular, but let's take a look at the insert here. And it is more than just, see, now this is what I remember from back in the day that I really enjoyed. And it looks like she's kind of done that with this album to make it, something kind of special for everybody. Now it's got the track listing, but it also has all of the lyrics for the songs printed on here too. And when I was younger, not every album had this, but the ones that did just felt really special because you could sit back, put your tape in, and then you could sing along with it or just read the lyrics. It's kind of a neat thing to have. So while I may not be impressed with the cassette itself, I am impressed that they went through the trouble to actually do a proper insert on that. It's not just a cheap printed J card. I wish that tape was a little bit better though, but anyway, so we'll put that one back. Let us get our last one open, and then we'll take a listen to these as much as we can without getting a copyright strike. So the Taylor Swift album, this one was released in October of 23, so it's brand new, and I guess there's a story behind why she had to remaster it and do that, which I'm not going to get into because I don't care. She's not my style of music, but I'm hoping that this is a good quality tape too. Looking through the package, I can see that the cassette is 2 colors, which is neat. Looks like we got a decent J card, another made in the UK on this one. It does have a pull tab. Let's go ahead and get it open. All right, so opening it up, cassette itself. Actually, it feels like the same manufacturer as the other one. It's a solid tape, sonically welded. It has that soft, put your finger through it window on the tape. So that makes me think that it's the same tape manufacturer. This was Republic Records, so a different label. I do like the printing on the actual cassette itself rather than just a sticker. That's nice. All the track listings are on there for side A and side B, so that's kind of neat. I'm expecting the same kind of tape in this one as well. But let's take a look. Maybe they did this one a little bit differently. This one has the longest leader in history. That looks a little bit darker than the other one did. Let's, or maybe that's just my old eyes. No, that's probably that's the same tape stock. It just, for some reason, seemed a little bit darker to me. So there's that. Now, since it's made by the same company, I'm presuming, maybe we have a similar situation going on with the insert. Let's pull that out and take a look. And looks like we don't have lyrics, but we have what I would consider to be really nice album art on the inside. If you're a Taylor Swift fan, I could see why you would like that. And then we have looks like some photos on there too. That's actually really nice. I mean, a full color printed insert. That's actually quite impressive. You know, whoever is making these cassettes over in the UK, I'm really impressed. And I looked trying to find out who it was that physically makes these cassettes over there, and I could not find anything. So if there's anybody that's watching that can tell me, I really appreciate it, because I'm kind of curious. I appreciate the way they put all these things together. So I guess the next thing is going to be, what do they sound like? So I think we'll get our tapes together here, put them in the cassette deck, and kind of see what they sound like. Now, I know YouTube is huge about copyright strikes, and I really don't want to do that. So I'm going to try to play maybe just a few seconds of a few songs from each of them so that you guys can hear them. We'll kind of talk about that. If you don't hear them, it's because they got blocked by YouTube. So let's get these put in the cassette deck and see what they sound like. Well, that was pretty interesting in a couple of different ways. Now, those aren't really my style of music, but it was still pretty exciting to listen to modern music that was produced new on cassette. It did kind of bring back some memories opening up those cassettes. It was like being a teenager again and opening up my favorite new albums. So I did quite enjoy that. Now, if we talk about the quality of the albums, we'll start off with the Beach House by Depression Cherry. Now, this one looks like it may have been produced by National Audio Company. They're a company here in the United States that does cassette duplication. The sound quality on it, it was really hard to really get a read on that, because it's a very, very overly processed style of music. So it's hard to tell if the cassette isn't made to really good standards or if it's just the way the music is. And I have a feeling it may just be the way the music is. I listened to it online digitally, and it really wasn't much different. So I've heard other releases that National Audio Company has done, and they've been decent. So I have to think it's just the style of music. In the U.S., I would say National Audio Company is probably the biggest producer of cassettes nowadays, the pre-recorded releases. And, you know, you have to think they probably haven't made a cassette duplicator in years. So I have to think that regardless of who's making the cassettes, the equipment that they're making them on is probably pretty old too. But so that one was a little bit disappointing. No album art, no nothing, and then, you know, questionable fitness for a cassette. Digitally, probably okay. Not quite the right sound for a cassette, I don't think. But the other two I was actually pretty impressed with. If we look at the Happier Than Ever album, the Billie Eilish album, this one actually brought me back to the heyday of cassettes, being able to open this thing up brand new, pull the cassette out, you know, see a pretty nice label on there, but then having that insert that had all of the lyrics on it, the photos, that was impressive. That actually brought me back to a simpler time, so to speak. And the same thing with the Taylor Swift album, the 1989 Taylor's version. Enjoyed the double cassette on that, the two colors. This is probably my favorite one as far as the way it's put together, with the printing directly onto the cassette, and then with the photos and everything on that insert. I thought it was really, really impressive the way they put that together. The sound quality on both of these, now I could not find anywhere who's producing cassettes in the UK for distribution over there, and it said made in the UK, so I have to think that both of these were actually produced there. So again, if anybody knows, let me know. I know duplication.ca in Canada does these, but I could not find anywhere that seemed like they would do these big releases for modern artists. So let me know if you know. The sound quality on these was actually better than I expected, based on the way the tape looked and the construction of the actual cassette. They were pretty crisp. There was plenty of bass, plenty of treble. I listened to everything not only through the speakers like you guys did, but I also put the headphones on, listened to it, and both of these actually sounded pretty good. Now that actually leads me to my next point. You know, with all the young people getting into it, and I can see why these would appeal to them. I mean, the album art and the inserts, you know, besides having a physical piece of the media, that's not something that you get nowadays, and you guys aren't familiar with it as young people. So I can see why these would be attractive to you, and I'm glad you guys are getting into it. The thing that I'll say about that is that the new equipment that's being made is junk. So I don't want you guys to get excited about getting a new album, pop it into your cheap Amazon cassette player, and then be very disappointed and say, oh, well, all the hype from, you know, people that remember cassettes is right. They're terrible. They sound bad. These didn't sound bad at all. So I would encourage young people out there to skip the Amazon cheap cassette players and get something that has been serviced and that is maybe a little bit older piece of equipment. Even an older Sony Walkman can be picked up relatively inexpensively. They're easy to change the belts on if you need to do that, or just find somebody that can service one for you and have it serviced up. That way you can get the full experience if you don't want to buy a big vintage cassette deck for your home. So I hope that gives you guys a little bit of insight. Hope you guys were as impressed and unimpressed as I was with some of it. But let me know your thoughts below. I enjoy the comments that come through on the channel and reading through those and replying to as many as I can. It's a lot of fun to spend this time with you guys every week as I get the chance. So until next time, I've been Chad. This is the Vintage Electronics Channel. Happy listening.